You're always going fast until you hit one of these questions. Okay, number 13 takes a little time. We got a couple things to talk about here, so let's break it down. 13 says refer to scenario 230.27. The minimum permitted size circuit conductors are used for this circuit, utilizing 430.52C1 exception, dual element time delay fuses with the maximum rating were installed in the disconnect for the motor. For this installation, the minimum size EGC permitted is what? Okay, so for this question, you can go over to 430.52C1. Doesn't really matter too much for our particular scenario. They threw it in there, but check it out if you feel like it. What we're going to have to do is a couple things. Okay, typically when sizing an EGC, it is based off of what? The overcurrent device, right? That's what the basis is. Now, we do have another rule that we kind of need to take into account because they're saying the minimum permitted size circuit conductors here. So 250.122 says this, okay, right in A, general. Okay, copper aluminum or copper clad aluminum equipment grounding conductors of the wire type shall not be smaller than shown in 250.122. But if we keep reading, it also says the equipment grounding conductor shall not, okay, that mandatory or permissive language there, shall not be required to be larger than the circuit conductors supplying the equipment. Okay, so we're going to have to do a couple things here is basically what this is telling us. We're going to have to calculate the OCPD, and we're going to have to calculate the conductors for this motor. Is that difficult? No, not really. It just takes some time. Okay. So when we're talking about a motor like this, it is 3 horsepower. It is 208 volt. It is single phase. Remember, we can't go off the nameplate information of the motor. We have to go off the charts in the back of the book to get our FLC. So we're going to start our journey here in the charts in the back of Article 430. So I'm going to jump over into the back of 430. I've got a couple pertinent tables here. 430.250 talks about 3-phase motors, and 430.248 talks about single-phase alternating current motors. Talks a little bit about the nominal voltage ratings down here at the bottom and how they apply as well. Now for this one, I believe we were talking about a 3 horsepower motor, and it looks like we were talking about a 208 volt panel. Okay, single phase though, single phase. So 208 volt here, and I'll go down and I'll find my FLC for this motor to be 18.7 amperes. 18.7 amperes. Now, to size my circuit conductors, remember I'm always going to assume that it's a continuous motor unless I am specifically told not to. Okay, unless specifically told not to, I will run it through my continuous duty at 1.25. So for the conductors, let's do this. 18.7 times 1.25. My ampacity for these needs to be 23.375, 23 amps. Okay, now I also need to do my overcurrent protective device. Okay, so I'm going to take that same 18.7 and I'm going to figure what my multiplier is for dual element time delay fuses. Let's take a little trip backwards to 430.52, I want to say. Okay, and that's going to be our multipliers or our percentage bases for the overcurrent protective devices for motors. Table looks like this right here. 430.52C1 is our maximum rating or setting for motor branch short circuit and ground fault protective devices. Okay, I'm specifically talking about single phase motors here, but the most common sections that you're going to see are polyphase motors and those squirrel cage motors. Okay, the other ones are a little bit less common, but you might see those as well. Okay, so for single phase motors specifically, I was talking about a DETD or dual element time delay fuse, and it has 175% of the full load current, okay, that I got out of the charts in the back. Okay, so I'm going to take that times 1.75 equals, let's do it, 18.7 times 1.75 equals 32.725. 32.725. Now remember, I can take that up to the next standard size, right? So I'm going to go up to the next standard size. You can always find your standard sizes in 240.6. Okay, 240.6 is just your standard ampere ratings for fuses and inverse time circuit breakers. So since I landed between a couple, I landed between 30 and 35, I am allowed to go up to the next standard size of 35 amperes. So that will be my overcurrent protective device. Cool, does that answer the question? No, that'd be great if it did, but it sure doesn't, Doc. That's not how it works here. It'd be way too simple if that got us there. But I guess we sized the overcurrent protective device and the conductors for the motor, so it's a part of the battle. So let's go check that overcurrent device at 35 amps and see what typically would be our EGC, or equipment grounding conductors. So up to 60 amps, since we exceeded 20, it would normally be a number 10. Okay, for most circumstances, we'd be talking a number 10 EGC. Okay, but since my circuit conductors only need to have an ampacity of 23 amps, I think you can see where we're going with this. Let's go find a circuit conductor good for 23 amps. I'm going to cruise over to that same old Holy Grail article, and in that 75-degree column, I'm going to find me a conductoid that's good for that. Looks like a number 12 here gets me 25 amps, so my circuit conductors are going to be a number 12. It's possible, Colton, that you would have one like this. This is kind of more of like a master level question, I would say, just due to the amount of bouncing that it's making you do. Typically, the journeyman level questions don't quite have as much bouncing. Okay, but it's possible. Unlikely, though. Okay, so our circuit conductors are going to be a number 12. Our EGC is not required to be larger than the circuit conductors, so we are going to go ahead and put those number 12s in there for the EGC and the circuit conductors. Okay, even though it's a 35 amp breaker, that rule, it's almost kind of like an exception inside of 250-122 pointed us in that direction. Okay, there it is. Yeah, and don't think there's going to be a lot of those. Remember, when you're taking your journeyman's test, there's really only about maybe 10 calculations on there, 10 to 12 calculations, and the chances of you getting like this specific one, super unlikely. However, somewhat possible. Okay, but it's not too bad. It just takes a lot of breakdown.